Hello and welcome back, folks, to the 82 Live Thundercats versus the Discoverers. We just came off of an epic game and looking to bring it to an epic second game. Both these guys evenly matched, hell of a lot of fun to watch. If you didn't watch the first game, I greatly suggest it, as it is an amazing precursor to this game, really sets up the stakes for what's going on right here. We're again game number 2 between these two teams, and if you want your own game casted, whether it be live or a replay, preferably a replay, but we won't be the judge here, you can go check out the GoFundMe here, which is either in the Twitch page if you're watching live right below, or you can check out it in the link of this YouTube video. All details should be there for how you get your game casted by me, Chicago Ted. Aside from that, it is going to be this game all through and through, and I'm just going to cast it for you guys. It's Thundercats leading off with a Tusk pick, but Leshrac and Bloodseeker getting banned out. Leshrac, a bit of a respect ban for the Thundercats, or at least from the Discoverers. Queen of Pain and Undying being taken out by the Thundercats, some pretty standard bans there. Now, it looks like Discoverers, they did leave the techies in. They went out of their way to ban it out the last game, and that almost leads me to wonder if that's going to be something that we need to keep an eye out. Because if Thundercats go techies often, then we might be in for one hell of a ride here.
Reserve time.
Under a bit of reserve, though, Discoverers decide what they want. They're going to go drop out with the Ancient Apparition, though. A very interesting pick up here. I can almost imagine what they're going to go ahead and try to chain up with that. Meanwhile, it is what are we going to see after that. Now, they could, I mean, there's so many heroes that are in the meta, and last game, they picked a couple of pretty interesting things, so
10 seconds to go.
With 10 seconds to go in their regular reserve time and not really wanting to dip too far into their reserve time, they're going to go ahead and grab the Witch Doctor. So last game, they drafted up a bit of a wombo combo. This game, they'll do the same. There we go. Those nice little pretty pictures. And, yep, well, just as we guessed, Thundercats will go for the techies. We're in for a ride. Buckle up. This
10 seconds
I don't think
to
I've
go.
seen. I don't think I've ever seen Thundercats play.
Dyer's ban.
But then again, I don't think I've seen many of these guys play before. So I can't go on a limb and say that I know whether or not these guys are good techies players or what they kind of do. But keep in mind, he was respect banned out last game. But Discoverers
10
feeling
seconds
like
to go.
Leshrac and Husker are a bit more important
5
to ban
seconds.
out here. They leave the techies to go through. That almost makes me wonder if this could be a major mistake for them.
Reserve
But we'll have
time.
to see. They do have the Witch Doctor, the Ancient Apparition, are a very good supporting combo, plenty of lockdown, can do very well against the Tusk, so maybe this ends up working out in their favor. But for right now, it's going to be an interesting thing to watch here, how they start to formulate these drafts around the heroes, as Phoenix will be taken out, Templar Assassin also getting rid of, and Huskar, as we mentioned, the bit of a respect ban from last game as well, with
10 seconds
Thundercats
to go.
deciding to pick up both the Leshrac and the Huskar and
5
doing
seconds.
incredibly well with the two of them. But again, don't take my word for it. Go back, watch those
Reserve
games.
time.
It was an incredible matchup, a hell of a lot of fun to watch, and I do 100% recommend it. So, well, going on in. Last ban here, again, Discoverers dipping into their reserve time a bit. Almost feels like after the last game they might be a little bit flustered. I think losing a lot of momentum like that and having the game drag on for that long when you at one point were really far ahead. I know these are spoilers, guys, but you probably
Radiant's
watched this
pick.
game already before you're watching this one. I mean, come on. I know what you're thinking, but Storm Spirit will be banned out for them, or by them, and
Wind Ranger at your
they're going to go ahead and grab themselves a Wind Ranger at the ready.
Dyer's
And
pick.
can imagine this will probably be something like a, the Slasher's Way Wind Ranger goes for the Aghanim Scepter first, tries to deal as much damage between the Focus Fire and whatnot. A lot of physical damage that can be coming out from between the Witch Doctor and the Wind Ranger, but all in all, they don't really have a lot of the team fight control that they need. I mean, Paralyzing Cask is great, but what do you have to follow that up?
10 seconds to go.
Don't really have that much team control. You do have a lot of
5
damage, a
seconds.
lot of focus damage, but that's about it. Now, once Witch Doctor gets something like an Aghanim Scepter, then you can start to say
Reserve
that you've got a
time.
lot of team damage and whatnot. But where Witch Doctor will excel, though, is that the Tusk and the Techies, if they ever snowball in and try to find a kill, that's going to set up for quite a bit, as Paralyzing Cask bouncing between the two of them could spell their death. Ember Spirit, though, will be the pickup from the Thundercats, and I personally really, really love this hero. Struggle to find a place for him in the meta right now, though I can say personally I have been experimenting a lot with what he does, how you build him, things along those lines, and
10 seconds
I've
to
been
go.
having some pretty decent success with the straight in, all in,
5 seconds.
battle build, going for the typical early
Dyer's pick.
Aquila, going for the Wraith Bands, building straight into something like a Desolator, then going crits, stuff like that, like getting out to battle early and then letting the late game flow naturally, allowing yourself to fight, and then building things like Battle Fury and slowly replacing your mid-game damage items with late-game super damage items because you can. And that actually works out pretty well against Phantom Lancer because
10
you don't
seconds to go.
need the Battle Fury early against Phantom Lancer. You can afford to
5
get one or
seconds.
two items before that and then go use those to kind of momentum
Reserve
you
time.
into the Battle Fury because, it'll come naturally. Don't worry. You don't need to rush a Battle Fury. Have to farm it out with, unlike someone like an anti-mage who can't really build too much to just farm, to just fight and then have the Battle Fury come naturally. A lot can be said about an anti-mage going for something like a Vladimir's Offering and farming naturally that way, but Ember Spirit doesn't have to build the same way an anti-mage does. And that's the beauty of this hero right now, is that he can do things like that, get away with things like that. And now even with a
10
Magnus,
seconds
even
to
more
go.
than ever, just get away with not even building a Battle Fury until you've got something like a Desolate, until you've got something like a Daedalus, and then maybe going for a Battle Fury later on just to give that extra little bit of AoE damage. Say you've got another Daedalus or another Rapier that you've replaced your Desolator with. Stuff like that. Like, that's the main thing that
10 seconds
makes
to
this
go.
hero really, really strong right now. And what I imagine we'll see coming out from the
5
Thundercats
seconds.
in this game, because that if you start building them the really squishy way, you might
Reserve
run into
time.
issues down the road where even the Witch Doctor becomes a little bit too much for him to handle. So we're going to see a ban out from the Lich. Thundercats. Looks like they're going to get rid. I would almost imagine they get rid of something like any offlaner, like maybe your Bristlebacks or things along those lines. And honestly, I don't see any real place for Discoverers to go ahead and grab themselves a silencing hero. They're going to go ahead and get rid of the
Radiant's
Clockwork.
pick.
An interesting one, but they end up going for a Razor. Now that
Dyer's
that
pick.
piques my interest, because it leads me to wonder what Discoverers are actually going to do to lane this one. Do they throw the Razor mid, have the Phantom Lancer carry and the Wind Ranger offlane? Do they aggressive with the Phantom Lancer and have the Wind Ranger solo safe? I don't know. I can't say for sure, but
10
it's going to be
seconds
interesting
go.
to see. Whereas Thundercats, I think they're a little bit more obvious in what they're
5
going to do,
seconds.
especially once we see this last pick come out. And yeah, it's a little more obvious. Magnus, taking a core solo role to get those levels up.
Radiant's pick.
Ember Spirit with the Jakiro, Tusk with the Techies, standard stuff. So we're coming on into the game. Game number 2 of a best-of-2 series between the Thundercats and the Discoverers. Let's go ahead,
Better get
as
ready.
always, and introduce our teams. For the Discoverers, it's going to be Cotton Swabber on the Ancient Apparition. Now I'm going to starve on the Wind Ranger with Lee playing the Witch Doctor, Stin the Button playing the Phantom Lancer, and Killer 370 on the Razor. Now, this guy is their mid player, but one interesting thing about what they've got going on, Stin the Button was their offlane player last game. So he could be solo here, and they're going to do an aggressive off lane with now I'm going to start being their carry player, taking that aggressive carry role. And they've got both supports going for the top room. That doesn't say anything right now, but that could be very much what's going on. GamePod, meanwhile, he's going down, he's farming the bot or stacking mines on the bottom lane. He's already got 2 stack right here, and he's perfectly stacking them. I think this last one did get revealed by Stin, and he's pinging them out. So that's a bit unfortunate for GamePod, but if he can get something out, like try to lure creeps into there or something along those lines, it looks like Cinnabon's actually going to take a lot of damage from that. It's actually hilarious how close he was. Takes a good amount, won't go down to it. Bottom room will certainly go to the Thundercats, who I haven't announced yet, but it's going to be Snarf with a double day of rapiers on the Ember Spirit. It's savaged on the Jakiro with Horiana Capac playing the Magnus. It's going to be Badass Turtle Esquire on the Tusk. Not really a turtle, but badass nonetheless. And Gampod playing the Techies. He's put down 1 auxiliary mine since his got demined. And I think they're going to wait to see if anyone walks over that, snowball in, and then immediately mine after the snowball and go from there. That'd be my guess. But for right now, we'll have to keep our eye on there because a kill could happen almost instantly. I mean, you can already see the mines exploding on to stim the button. He's got to be very careful about this lane. It looks like they're running 2-1-2s, as is the Thundercats, just because I think they want to provide a little bit more protection to this Phantom Lancer. If it was just a PL versus a Tusk, I say the PL would win that any day of the week, or at least break even. But the fact that there's a Techies down here, which I imagine was almost, I won't say obvious, but figured it would have happened. I imagine they figured it would have happened too. It's intuitive that they throw someone else down there. Make sure that he doesn't just get blown to bits. You know, someone, you've got Lee who's got a heal, who's got a way to counter out the snowball, and I mean, just try to keep your PL alive. He doesn't have to farm that much, though you kind of want him to. He can pick up in the jungle. He can catch up how he needs to. He's got a great farming mechanic. But you need to keep him alive. You need to keep him from giving the enemy Techies, giving the enemy Tusk that goal they need to get their soul ring to start snowballing figuratively instead of literally, and to get ahead in the game. So, unlike last game, we haven't seen our first blood just yet, though. I can almost imagine the tensions are building. One will happen any time now. Snowball, potentially this is it. They're going to go ahead and drop him in, but the fizzle comes out from the suicide. He was just too far away, and now this might be the first blood. It will be. Stin the button, turns it around on the Badass Turtle Esquire, and the Thundercats. They lose it out. A little bit aggressive, not quite respecting the ability for the Phantom Lancer to get himself out of sticky situations like that.
Trouble brewing at Radiant's bottom tower.
And he'll get away. They both get away, albeit both very low, though. PL, Stin the button will have a salve to bring himself back up to full. Smartly going for this 2 points in a doppelganger, just making sure that he's got it up whenever he needs to get out of a tight spot. And though he's taking a pretty decent sum of damage from the mines, it's not going to completely tear him away from this lane because of the region that he's had thus far, though he has to be a little bit more careful, I think, to avoid the little damage that he's taking, because that will start stacking up. Razor, meanwhile, in the mid lane, shouldn't have that much trouble against the Magnus unless he gets himself out of position and gets pulled under tower. But as you can see, Razor with 295 MS, Magnus with 315. He's moving a little bit faster, so Razor's got to be a bit careful about when he chooses to use that static link. But if he can get a decent one off, he could easily pick up a kill on the Magnus, if not send him back to Fountain. And okay, this is what I mean. A kill will happen spontaneously at any point in time, and yeah, it's just Tusk Techies. Love that combo when I run it, hate it when I'm against it, and I bet this Witch Doctor is pretty much hating it right now too. Not so much the PL, he did get a pretty nice kill off of it in the last one, but it's something you gotta always watch out for. In fact, I gotta always scan down bomb to see if there's a group of X's rolling in. Snarf's not maybe a little bit in trouble, but he pops into the Flame Guard, 2 points in that, which get rid of a majority of that power shot damage, and he's going to stay alive, pop into a salve, and stay within vicinity of the wave. As that's a bit of an FPS drop there. Meanwhile, there's a double damage rune in the bottom rune spot. It's a nice rune to have, and Hornicapod will take that one. Not sure what he'll be able to do with it. Having a double damage rune against a Razor is kind of like bringing a squirt gun to a bonfire. It's not... It helps maybe cool yourself off, but it doesn't exactly stop the fire from destroying you if you get too close. Like, I'm not taking a lot of damage from these plasma fields. They're coming in, and I mean, you gotta run away from them. I mean, it's almost intuitive, but when you run away from them, you know, taking more damage. Of course, you guys know this, but it's just these kind of mind games that you play whenever you play against a Razor, or whenever you play Razor. Like, you make it so they have to choose: do they run away and take more damage, or do they stay close and lose damage? And of course, half the time, the second one doesn't even happen. You don't even get close enough to lose damage anyway. You can just run away from them, but after the fact. But it still is these mind games. And okay, this one I kind of feel a bit more shame about. Out of the 4 kills, I missed 2. Okay, we'll get back into this one, but that's a kill. Magnus gets it in the top lane. It's going to be Cotton Swabber taking a lot of damage. They've got the liquid fire onto him, and Snarf will go ahead, bring him down with a rapier. Love these cosmetics, and that will be the kill, going the way of the Thundercats, making it 2 for 3. And obviously, in terms of CS, the PL is doing a little bit better than our main man, Snarf, on the Ember Spirit. But that one kill definitely does help. Now, looks like a doppelganger helped get him away from the mines. That's a pretty smart idea, as I said. Keeping him from getting too much damage, chipping away at him. It looks like he did since bring out some extra tangos to help him sustain in this lane. Meanwhile, badass Turtle Esquire and Horanica Pack, they made their way down. They're going to go ahead and snowball in. They find Lee, but Cotton Swabber comes down immediately. Lee might be in a little bit of trouble. Cotton Swabber actually taking a lot of damage from the shockwave. Bass Turtle Esquire is on the run, though. He doesn't want to try to go for this kill. Instead, Stun the Button is going to go ahead and try to chase him. Meanwhile, Horanica Pack will bring down Cotton Swabber in the meantime. A suicide from the techies as Stun the Button does end up bringing down a kill, where a shockwave will come through and end Stun the Button's life. Killer is trying to run on the chase. They won't be able to catch up Horanica Pack. The 310 MS versus the 370 of the Magnus. And that'll be the end of the bottom engagement. A suicide and a kill for a kill. I would imagine this ends up being, what, a 4 to 3 or something like that with a couple of suicides that we've had. Techies, yeah, both his deaths have been suicides, so... Gampod? Running away from illusions. Horanica Pack taking a lot of damage from this plasma field, but Killer not quite able to follow it up with anything. Again, the move speed difference is just way too huge. Now I'm going to start, meanwhile, with Cotton Swabber. They haven't really been able to make any strong showings here on the top lane. It doesn't seem like they're faring that well, even though Not Gonna Starve is getting a good amount of CS. It looks like this might be trouble, as they've got the Ice Path in. Cotton Swabber taking a lot of damage. Now with a Cold Feet, it will slow down Snarf's engagement, but he still will go down. Not Gonna Starve, meanwhile, gets away. He's got the Chilling Touch, but it's not going to help him out do really anything in this one. Stun the Button, meanwhile, pushing this one out. Gampod doing a little bit of damage, but Stun the Button's actually tanking up pretty well and sustaining very well in this lane so far. So, very nice by him. Hopefully he'll be able to continue along this path and maybe just grab a whole ton of CS from the jungle too. I mean, he's top of the board right now on the CS. His net worth, I imagine, probably closer to second. Yeah, 3,100 net worth to the 3,700 of Horanica Pack, but still, I mean, having a top CS, having a pretty decent net worth right now is all that you can really hope from your Phantom Lancer, and hopefully that snowballs him into the game, or at least that's what his team is putting the effort in for him to do. He baits out the snowball with the illusion. kind of a cheeky play right there, ultimately netting not that much, but Haruka Pack is down here, and it did get him to reveal this game, which would have been revealed by this ward anyway. They rotate down with a Cotton Swabber, though, as they know this could be an engagement in the making. A Snowball comes down. They're going to go ahead, drop the Chilling Touch, but Stin the Button, he has every idea what's going on, and he will go ahead and doppelgang out of this one. Gampod can't suicide. Instead, Badass Turtle Esquire will also go down. It is a double kill for Stin the Button. Haruka Pack, though, could get a triple if he's not careful. He might actually drop here. He gets his dominating, but he'll go down in the meantime. To the tower, splits up between the three, but a double kill for our Phantom Lancer here. With a top CS, that is a huge amount of gold that will be going to his way. And he does lose a little bit of it, but it's still a very nice amount that he'll put in his pocket, take away, and use for further advancement in this game. 7-7. Again, a couple of those kills on the techies. 2 of them were suicides, but still fairly close game right now at 10 minutes, 13 seconds. We've got a pretty even graph, too, hanging around 0, 500 in the Discoverer's direction, but about 500 in experience in the Thundercats' direction. So, again, as all said and done, this is a pretty even game so far. 10 minutes and 10 and a half. Looks like Thundercats, though, they want to try to start swaying this one in their advantage. They rotate Savage down, only to drop a ward, though. Makes his way back up north. Meanwhile, looks like Cotton Swab makes his way back down bottom. He is out of vision. They don't really have any idea he's down there. Though, with how far the Thundercats are hanging back, they've got a couple of remote mines, so actually Cotton Swab will reveal. Double walk helps Stin evade the Ice Shard's damage. And now Ice Blast comes through. They've got the Death Ward as well as Killer comes in through the back lines. Now Gampod will get the suicide, but Badass Turtle Esquire will go down again. And just like that, the Discoverer has taken a pretty decent fight in the early game. And I mean, constantly putting a pressure on this bottom lane, which is exactly what they should be doing. This VL is getting so much auxiliary from this. Gampod could end up dropping. He dropped Suicide Squad already. Cotton Swabber will bring him down. Stin the Button not really re-aggroing correctly. Could be in a lot of trouble. Doesn't have Double Walk. He still hasn't re-aggroed. He's taking a lot of damage. He goes down to the tower. Just a classic case of not shifting the tower aggro when you really need it to, and ends up being the death of him. Meanwhile, Haruka Pack, can he get the, he does! Gets Killer trapped in the cliff, but this will be the death of him. No, he's got TP. Just TP out, dude. You're in a lot of trouble. You're not getting this kill. So it looks like he'll end up going down. They drop down the ice path. They want to kill Killer, though, in the meantime. But can they really? Savage taking a lot of damage as well. Savage will go down. No! Savage barely bringing down Killer and staying alive with 17 HP. Very, very close there. But in the end, I don't know if it was really worth it. Potentially if the Magnus just skewered up and TP'd away immediately. That may have been better. Oh, Snarf shackled up. Stin the Button's also up there. He continues to chase. Doesn't want to let this one go, but he lets it go. And, I mean, this is what happens when you've got both your hard carries that have amazing escape potential. Like, getting a kill on either one of them is tough. But they can't exactly get a kill on each other either. I imagine this in the Button. I mean, he's going to go Diffusal Blade right now. But I almost wonder what he's going to go for after this. Whether or not he goes the direction of something like a Basher or like that. He double walks back a little bit. Doesn't have it for right now. So he's got a man fight for the time being. But he's man fighting all right. And his Illusion's actually going to go in and get the swipe to get the kill. Stin the Button will go down at the end. Badass Esquire will get it. Stuns the lead to stop the Death Ward, but there's a Maledict already going through, dealing a pretty substantial amount of damage. I'm not sure if this will get the kill, though. We'll see how much damage this one does. No. It seems like only a level 1 Maledict, but in comes Killer to bring the kill onto Savage. Badass Turtle Esquire, if that had been any higher level, and Maledict, the Ice Bath, or Ice Blast will miss. Meanwhile, in comes Haruka Pack. Killer is in there as well. They got the ice shards, but it isn't really stopping Killer from chasing. Maybe it is. He's in a little bit of a pickle. TP comes in from Snarf. He goes in to try to bring down Killer. The perfect line on his ultimate, but the shackle will line up amazingly well. Unfortunately, it isn't enough to save Killer's life. And Harionica Pack will grab that kill. Meanwhile, Gomped just putting so much in the enemy jungle here. You can see he's got the 3 remote mines by the hard camp. Don't even know how many landmines are there, but he's got 6 down. However many are there too. Ancient Apparition will bring down Jakiro. Looks like it happened face to face. So Ice Blast used. And Stin the button. We'll go ahead and put some pressure on this bottom 1 tower.
Bottom tower's getting the business.
Getting in there. Snarf on the top. Now this is when we start seeing Empower doing its thing. 40% cleave. 40% added damage. It's better than a Battle Fury at this point already.
Dire's bottom tower got blown to bits. The Dire best do something about that bottom tower.
And so, it looks like Snarf will continue to just farm up, and he can do so pretty efficiently and pretty effectively with Harionica Pack helping him out. But they've got to be in proximity. It doesn't look like they're maintaining that relationship just yet. So Snarf going to go ahead, drop down with some pulls, some cheeky pulls, but pulls that probably won't work out to his benefit nonetheless. As a suicide happens bottom, nothing much comes out of it. In the mid lane, it looks like they want to try to put some pressure on the Killer, but with 1 shockwave, it's not going to be enough. They rotate in Cotton Swab, and I don't think they can continue going on it. They'll drop the cold feet, but that's all it'll be is just damage. And Killer will back out and just try to farm. Not going to starve. Hey, going toe-to-toe with Snarf, and he is going to go directly into that Battle Fury. So an interesting maneuver by him, especially with the Magnus on his team, but I guess the rationale comes from the fact that damage will be coming from the Empower, so it doesn't really need to build towards that. Battle Fury gives you damage anyway, but the 100% cleave is a very, very vital thing, and I think he's going to go for that right here, right now, and he'll do well with it. 50% plus the 35, not bad at all. Ember Spirit going to go ahead, do the whole TP back and Remnant and cheeky Ember Spirit plays, allows you to sustain indefinitely on lane. And is very, very good to have at your disposal. He's going for the 3-3-4 build. Now, that's pretty interesting to see coming out. I mean, it's kind of a morph between the 2 more popular builds, I think. Those being either max chain, max flame guard, and then 1 point in sleight of fist just for a value point, or max chain, max sleight of fist, and 1 point or a value or nothing in flame guard. Latter being, you know, my personal favorite, but regardless, I mean, lots of popular builds on them. This one's kind of a morph, and I'm rather interested to see it. He is skipping his ultimate at level 11, though, which means he isn't really using it for the damage, much less this kind of, you know, TP back in play that is pretty common and is very effective at making sure that you can farm quickly, efficiently, and uncontested, really. And so, the Battle Fury will be out at decent timing. Meanwhile, oh, Stin the button. Going down to mines. That's always something that, you know, you don't ever want to have your carry do, especially one like Phantom Lancer that can go ahead and demine wherever he's going. But Conswabber will be chased down by the Snowball. Badass Turtle Esquire, they put out the Ice Blast. It will hit on both Harionica Pack and Badass Turtle Esquire, but they will go down in the process. Killer trying to do what he can. Can he get the full Eye of the Storm off? They get the Liquid Fire off. And now they chase Harionica. Actually, they got the Paralyzing Cast running through. The Death Ward will actually grab a kill. And Lee, he survives. The tower goes down, so he's even more in the clear. Trying to run away. Meanwhile, Shackle Shot onto Snarf will get him away. Or he'll get away regardless, even though because he has the Remnant out. Meanwhile, Stin the button trying to get rid of that Frozen Sigil will not be successful. Harionica Pack goes to the Shockwave to net a kill, but will end up dying because of it. Or will he? He gets away. The TP out. That's a diffusal blade on Spin the Button. So his next couple of items will be coming out really quickly, allowing him to farm some good damage, some good attack speed, as well as some good mana as well. Ice Blast flying out will hit on the Badass Turtle Esquire, but I don't think he really cares about that right now. Snarf Snarf, meanwhile, about 300 gold away from his Battle Fury. 20 minutes in, not too shabby, especially considering it's a Ender Spirit. He's got 101 CS right now, which is pretty good at the moment, but his net worth, second highest on the board.
Trouble brewing at
Highest being our Harana Kapak, and the two highest being on the Thundercats. And this is a very common trend with the Thundercats I've been noticing, is that they've got their two highest. The rest of them kind of lag behind, though. The very interesting thing, though, is that in the last game, even though they lagged behind, it really was the Discoverers who only had one ahead. This time, they've got three in pretty close proximity, and okay. This is one of those games where I need some script that's just like, okay, someone's getting close to a mine or some weird thing is happening. Just immediately zoom to it. I don't know. I think I'm frazzled off of that 100-minute game. Regardless, there is a kill. Techies will go down. It says Ancient Apparition, but it looks like the Facilitator was indeed that Phantom Lancer doing the majority of it. Burning his mana so he can't suicide. The Fusel Blade being a very good item for that. And they'll push in through the top lane, and they'll probably bring down this tier 1 tower, or at least get a good amount of damage on it. They glyph immediately, which may be a little early, but in comes the cavalry. Thundercats looking to try to turn this one around. They got a snowball coming in, doing plenty of damage. They got two in with it as well, but a shotgun shot comes through. The Ice Blast completely missed. Snarf using everything they can to get away, but meanwhile the Death Ward will start hitting on the Badass Turtle Esquire and start bringing him down. Gampod goes in, but the Death Ward switches targets, and now an RP on top of the Ice Path, on top of the Macro Pyre. And 4 will go down without a fight. Okay, with a fight, but that was a devastating combo that was just unleashed right there onto the Discoverers, and Thundercats well executed from them. Very well executed. They'll go ahead and start to bring down this top tier 1 tower, getting a prize worthy of that fight. Meanwhile, it's start the button, Spin the Button, turning around to Snarf, doing a decent amount of damage, forcing a teleport in from Badass Turtle Esquire. Can they continue chasing, though? I'm not totally sure they can. And they will give up. Snarf, no HP left. 2,000 gold on top of the Battle Fury, though. And they see Spin the Button. He TP's away. They don't have any way to stop it. Bolo's, on cooldown. No vision either, so... Killer will go in for Savage, though. Got enough move speed to continue chasing. Evades out the Ice Path. Eyed the Storm as well. And also evades out the Skewer. Killer getting the kill, juking the hell out of the Thundercats there. And, he'll be happy to put that one in the bank. Can't say he didn't work for it, though. No siree. Cotton Swabbler and Killer, though, have grouped themselves in the mid lane. Cotton Swabbler is going what seems to be for the Aghanim Scepter. Not going for that Midas Rush, which has been all too common on support Ancient Apparitions, but instead going more support builds, grabbing the wards, grabbing the Arcane Boots. Badass Turtle Esquire, though, will go into the Snowball and continue to chase on them, but he's got no backup. So this could end up being his death right here. We'll go in, though. Blink from Horana Kapak. They go ahead with the RP. Grab 2. Snarf. 2 points in his ultimate. Plenty of damage out from that. Death Ward, though. They can cancel it out with the Flaming Searing Chains. In comes the Shackle Shot, though. Cancels out Snarf as Lee will hit the grave. A blink forward by Horana Kapak. They try to get the Skewer back. Snarf, though, will get the Searing Chains. And now I'm going to starve. Will go down. Courtesy, though, of the remote mine from Gampod. And once again, the Thundercats doing a ring around the rosy on top of the Discoverers. But Spin the Button is still split pushing this one out, still doing his best. We'll go ahead, doppelgang forward into Savage and just bring him down without a fight. But Snarf is there. He wants blood. Tastes it. One more sleight of fist. Well, we all know a really lucky proc on the doppelgang gets him out of there. Very well played, or at least well rolled from the Phantom Lancer. And again, he'll get away back to his split pushing shenanigans. But what's this? A Refresher's Orb already completed onto Horana Capac. I don't think he has the mana to even use 2 ultimates. 500, okay, maybe 500 for the RP, 375. So 875 is what it takes. He can get a plenty with the Arcane. Okay, he's got enough mana to use 2 ultimates. But when he hits level 16, he won't. That's, hilarious, I guess the word is what I'm looking for here. Regardless of the comedic aspect of it, he'll go for the double stack. He gets it off. We'll be able to farm those up pretty quickly and get to his next item very quickly, which will probably give him the sustain he needs to be able to use both RPs. For the meantime, though, he'll just have to deal with the Arcane Boots being the only real source of that. Meanwhile, Snarf taking a little bit of damage. He's got a decent Ancient stack here, and using whatever he can to farm it up as quick as he can. Doesn't have the cleave from the Magnus, but does have his Battle Fury, which is helping out a lot. Makes quick work of the Ancient stack, and he'll back himself away. So right now, Thundercats are happy to just farm up right now. They got a couple of heroes that can do very well with farm, though they've just gotten their Refresher's Orb. Again, it came a little prematurely, as he needs something more to be able to use everything. And whether it be a couple of levels, or he goes for something like a Shiva's or a Hex, that's to be determined. But for right now, I'm not sure they want to totally reveal that Refresher's Orb. It almost seems like one of those things that you kind of... You spend all this time thinking about whether or not you can. You don't quite imagine whether you really should go for the Refreshers that early. But, again, good sustain. It's got decent stats that it gives you, or at least not anymore, so that's nullified, but decent regen that it gives you, and all in all, a pretty decent item, but Snarf's on the hunt. They don't find anyone of importance right now, as only illusions are being sent in from Killer. As now I'm going to starve and lead. They push themselves up through the top lane. Bottom lane, it's going to be Stin and Cotton Swabber. Cotton, still looking for that Axe, but he's nowhere closer to it than he was 5 minutes ago, so we're not going to look at that being any real near objective for him. Razor, though, that's a different story. His Axe will be coming out in about 1,100 gold, and couldn't be sooner. Snarf will blink forward, goes for the kill on the Killer. Now, he's got all that cleave, but the damage isn't quite enough. Now a skewer forward, goes for the RP. Number 1 misses it completely, but can he refresh? Now gets himself back. Refreshes under the guise of everyone, though. Waits for that mana to come back. We'll have it another 20 mana or so, so has it back up, but that's the end of that fight. Can't quite use it again. And they saw that refresher, so they know exactly that he's got it back up. Snarf looking for a kill. He's got Crystallis there, so he's got some crits as well as 2 sources of cleave. Decent amount of damage. Gampod is going through and farming, mining everything up, and Killer might be in a little bit of trouble if he continues to chase this one. If anyone chases this one, they might be in a lot of trouble. In comes Remote Mines doing a pretty decent sum of damage, but not quite enough. Snarf will go in with the Searing Chains. There's still not enough. The Remote Mine still not enough. In comes Veronica Pack. He's got an RP, but the Shackle catches him to him, and Snarf here goes down without even being able to use it. Now the Ice Blast comes in. Snarf is dead. Savage goes for the Macro Pyre, but he's going to go down as well with a Death Ward. Now I'm going to starve. We'll go ahead and throw out the Power Shot as Turtle Esquire will also drop. A 4-0 in that fight. And the Discoverers actually take one to their advantage after losing a couple of them.
Dire structures looking fortified.
And their PL will grab himself a Manta Style. Blades of Attack comes out, so maybe a Crystallis from him. Plenty of damage between him and his illusions, if that's the case. And that'll be a hell of a lot to deal with. As, okay, Techies kills Razor. Please don't be where Techies was. Okay, it was in the mid lane. A bunch of remote mines, probably the culprit of that. Speaking of remote mines, what happened to this stack? Probably went out of time there. Gampot is just going to continue mine now. He's out of mana, but he's got the Soul Ring, he's got the Arcane Boost. It's a lot of mana sustain that he can use to his advantage. Drop the Aghanims or don't. Okay. Snarf will go up top. Looking for Synthbun. They use that RP. Lots of damage, but do they quite have enough? They do. Shockwave comes through and will bring down Synthbun. So the Thundercats getting a little bit victorious off of that last fight as they bring down 2 across the map. And they can continue pushing out on this one. Snarf will just go ahead, bring down some waves, and I mean, he's not really feeling any pressure right now. He'll blink forward, goes for the Searing Chains, but that blink may have been a little over aggressive. The Shackle Shot taking a lot of damage. He goes down. Said he wasn't feeling the pressure. I mean, I guess that might have gone to his head. And gets a little bit too antsy. And I guess now he's getting eaten by a little too many ants as he decomposes in the ground. Savaged. Invisible. Going through just in time for Ancient Apparition to buy a gem, by the way. So he's got to be very careful of his positioning relative to this AA. Windranger will finish up an Aghanim Scepter in the meantime, so is going for that Slasher's Way sort of build. Goes for the Blink first, which is a little bit more common nowadays, but still. The Aghanim Scepter being the core item of all of this, now possibly going in for the Daedalus or any sort of item that he wants that boosts his right-click damage because, well, now he's got so much that he can work with. Max attack speed on anyone is really, really good. And, oh no. Oh no. Spin the button. He goes forward. Might be in a little bit of trouble. Sends his illusions up. But I think Techies is the wiser on this one. Sends Manta now. But Techies sees it. I think they know there are mines there. They're very careful about it. They're going to pull... Oh no! The mind games! Oh, that was unfortunate to say the very least, to say the most. Just devastating there. Cinnabon now going to go in for Gampod. They get the Shackle Shot as well. No suicide for the Techies. Meanwhile, Hornatica Pack, a little bit of trouble, goes to the Skewer, down to the trees, but puts himself out of the frying pan into the fryer. Maybe not. He's got the RP, but can't follow up. Snarf, what can he do to help out here? He has to back himself off. Savage going for the Ice Path to secure the escape, but unfortunately he himself will go down as a result. And another incredible fight for the Discoverers as they take 1 for 3 is what it ends up being. Give or take a little bit, and their advantage, I mean, they've got it, or at least they're pulling back a little bit. 2,500 still into Thundercats' advantage for gold. Experience, similar story, about 3,000, and Thundercats' advantage. So they're slowly pulling it back. But the Thundercats, I mean, they've been farming really well. They've had their Ember Spirit and their Magnus. You've seen them in the jungle and the Ancients stacking, taking camps, doing well in that regard. And Thundercats, they also have a really good high ground defense. They can turtle it out, have the Ember Spirit plenty of time to get the items he needs to just one-hit rampage everyone. And we'll have to see if that's just enough to carry them through this game. And it could be enough to make this another long, long game as we're approaching. We're past midnight here at the US East. And looking at a 33-minute game that could go much, much longer if we're not careful. So as it stands, the Discoverers, they are trying to push what they can. They tried split pushing, and just has been working beautifully up until recently, where the Ember Spirit has been getting pretty far ahead. So now they're resorting to pushing as 5, maybe trying to find fights and get aggressive. As Razor, he's going for his BKB. He's got that Aghanim Scepter already out. And with Eye of the Storm, with Focus Fire, they can just go ahead and get rid of that Tier 1 in 0 time at all. Could have even continued pushing a little bit, though it would have been a risky play. Snarf is going to have his Daedalus out really soon. 800 gold for that, and I mean, Daedalus is going to be an incredible item for him. Having both those sources of cleave, doesn't even need to go for another Battle Fury. He essentially has more than 2 Battle Furies right now, so that opens up a free item slot for him. Usually you go 2 Battle Furies, 2 Daedalus, and then, you know, pick and choose the rest. Don't really go for any more than 2 Battle Furies, though, but now he only needs to go for 1. If he goes for 2, it's even better. But now he only needs to go for 1, can have space for 2 Daedaluses, maybe a Divine Rapier, Boots of Travel, you know, that whole shebang.
That's 4 in a row.
As, we're going to have a kill here, as it looks like we're killing techies, but going down to the mines here. Now I was focused on them maybe going for Roshan, but techies, I mean, he's got the spell on me. Every time there's a techies, I always... you know, not really think about the techies. I don't know. Daedalus is finished by Snarf as they go in for Roshan, and Ice Blast will come through, doing a fair amount of damage, but doesn't look like the Discoverers are in any real position to contest this. And they'll just let this one go up. Now, plenty of damage coming out again from that Ice Blast. And the Discoverers actually making their way. They're closing in, but can they get there quite in time? Actually, they might get there in time. And it looks like Thundercats, they realize this, they back themselves off. Regen Room being picked up by Savage. The rest of them hanging back. Ice Blast again, scouting out, this time spots no one. So the Discoverers know what's up. Stinbun's actually going to TP to the top lane. Revealing himself could be the green light for the Thundercats to go ahead and try this again, and it is. They make their way back in. Ice Blast will be back up in 20 seconds, but that's more than enough time for them to finish this Roshan, and I mean, they give up a Roshan. That's all that can be said about it. I'm not sure how well the Discoverers can contest this, judging by their 2 RPs, and now we can use all 2 of them. RP, refresh, RP. He's got enough mana from both of them, but not much else if he doesn't use his arcane boots in his bottle in the process, but having the 2 RPs is good enough in most cases. Especially when you're dealing with Ember Spirits, with the Jakiros, things like that, which having those 2 RPs has been, or having even that 1 RP has been completely and utterly amazing. Lots of damage. Look at that! Stin the button just melts. It's like an Echo Slam, except with no cooldown at all. And the bottom tier tower taking a lot of damage. Thundercats, alright to bring it to them. Remnant back from Snarf. The power of the Ember Spirit here. And the tier 2's going to go down. Yule's up onto Killer. They don't quite get the line they need for the Sleight of Fist. However, they get the snowball and the Macro Pyre is already down, and they'll bring him down. Sleight of Fist comes through, hits onto 3, cleaves through them, but not much happens off that one. And now Focus Fire comes out onto Horanica Pack. Send the button running away. Gampod going in fast here, but in comes Snarf doing lots of damage. Techies though. Gampod ends up bringing down Lee. Goes with the Death Ward. They snowball in to cancel it. They'll bring down Lee, but they're all still alive. 3 down on the side of the Discoverers. And still Wind Ranger's alive. PL is alive. But that's about all they've got. And can they really stand up to Gampod, Snarf, Savage, and the rest of the Thundercats? They're going to go in for these racks and should be able to grab it. 38 minutes in this game, not bad, all said and done. The Shackle Shot comes through, but misses on the Snarf. And then comes the Snowball. They'll bring down Now I'm Going to Starve. Looking to try to bring down Stin the Button, and they do. He has to buy back into this one. Bringing him down after he buys back could be huge for them. In fact, he goes on in. Ice Blast comes out. Snarf's not going to go down because of it, but he's got the Aegis of Immortality. He's in the button, getting so damn low. If he goes down, this is it. He's out. Killer 370. He's also could be in a lot of trouble. Yule Scepter up. But Snarf is not done with this. He goes in, grabs a double kill. In comes Lee. Out goes Lee. Out goes Cotton Swabber. Lee doesn't even come in. The racks go down. They can't push anywhere else, so I guess it's a major thing about this. A second battle through. Okay. They can't push any more racks because the tier 2s are still standing in the other lanes. But I think they're alright with that.
Dyer's mid tower won't last much longer.
Like, they just killed 2 PLs. Sent them so far back in this game. And then, I mean, the rest is history. Like, they can go ahead, they can get back, they can farm, they can do whatever they want. Even the Magnus has been building really, really efficiently. He's got that blink, he's got the Refresher's Orb. I'm kind of interested, though, because I haven't seen that many items come out from him recently. Is there something on the courier? Yeah, Shiva's Guard. Okay, so he's going to have the Shiva's Guard out very soon. And, I mean, again, farming really well, doing all he needs to do. And I could almost see him going for a Daedalus of his own just because he can cleave himself, cleave the Ember Spirit, who's hitting for 1138, by the way. That's 115% cleave. He's hitting everything around the creep for more than he's actually hitting for the creep. And with damage like 1,000 damage, one more Daedalus, and then a Rapier, and then, I mean, you easily are hitting auxiliary units for 2,000 unmitigated damage just because of how cleave works. That's why I love Ember Spirit. And, yeah, okay, every hero can do that, but Ember is one of the only ones that can boast an Omni Slash every 4 or 5 seconds. 6 seconds, okay. With cleave. It's just crazy. So as far as this game's going, Thundercats have solidified a pretty good foothold in this game. They've got about a 15,000 gold lead that they accumulated in almost no time at all. I mean, that's a span of less than 5 minutes. Same thing was Experience. They've accumulated about 1750, 17,500. Actually, in both of them for Golden Experience at this point. And at 41 minutes, it's a pretty decent lead to have. But it looks like Badass Turtle going to go ahead, farm these creeps. Not even he's empowered and hitting for close to 200 damage. I mean, Empower, man, it's a hell of a drug. They're just going to push out, doing what they can to do so. There's a minefield sign this far forward. That's kind of hilarious here. He's popping mines straight back. Now, see, the ping comes out here. They think the mines are this far back. They're going to put a sentry ward, see nothing, and then they all blow up to these mines. It's the mine games that come out from the techies. However, this minefield sign doesn't last forever.
Radiant's mid tower's coming up.
And I wish you could see the cooldown on this minefield sign, but you can't exactly. So it looks like the Discoverers will try to push out as best they can. I almost think the Thundercats want to bait them into these mines, but it looks like with this tower deny, I don't think they're going to leave their base anytime soon. So they might need to go to plan B and start trying to put some pressure on, do some pushes, maybe wait for Roche. But it looks like Snarf doesn't even want to do that. He goes straight on in to Killer 370, gets back, baits out the static link. And BKB, a very interesting choice. He's going Blink BKB, Ember Spirit. Goes in, drops down the chains in the Killer 370, and then lets that damage kind of marinate in while he slow sieges. I mean, when you think about it, Ember Spirit's one of the better turtling heroes, but he's also one of the better slow sieging heroes, because he can just do that. Go in, Searing Chains, do all that stuff, and then just get out, back to farming, drop a Remnant, go in, rinse, repeat, until, things like that happen, where Lee almost dies immediately to one sleight of fist.
Radiant's top tower is taking hits.
I mean, look at that damage that he just does with one fist. Spin the button. He almost just died there. He already got out, so he couldn't even react fast enough to that. That was incredible amounts of damage. So both tier 2s are gone, which opens up the Thundercats to just push in and do whatever they want. There's a Desolator on the Badass Turtle Esquire. Even though the Ice Blast comes in, it's still level 1, or it's still non-Aghanim Scepter. So in comes Snarf Snarf. They're going to pull back on a Killer 370, and he'll go down. Now, Paralyzing Cast comes through. Death Ward as well. Is this an Axe? It is an Axe Scepter Death Ward. They cancel it, though, with Badass Turtle Esquire, and they'll bring down Lee. They needed that Death Ward to do a little bit more than it did, but it couldn't. And now the RP comes out on a Now I'm Gonna Starve. They go in onto him. They've got enough damage. They'll bring him down. Meanwhile, what's the PL doing? He can't do anything. This could very well be game. 45 minutes in. And it is. GG, well played. Grand total for this entire series was about 160 to 170 minutes for a best of 2. That's usually what you get out of a short to a medium length best of 3. So very well played to both teams. It was a blast to cast. Thank you again to Mr. Snarf Snarf for the donation. And, well, that's it for tonight. I got to sign off. I got a long day of replays ahead of me tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed this cast, whether live or watching the replay. And I will catch you all next time.